What's up? What's up? We're going with another episode of Beefy Boys Breakdown. This is episode 112. We're going over UFC Fight Night, Holland versus Thompson. And as always, man, we're going to start it off with the prelims.
Yes, sir. We got 14 fights, so we're probably going to have to push a good pace here. Probably going to have to keep a nice 5-round pace running. But yeah, it starts off at strawweight with Yasmin. I don't know how to say her name.
Jauregui? I think Jauregui is how we're supposed to say it.
That's one of the hardest names I've ever seen in my life. But minus 325 versus Estela Nunez at plus 270. Honestly, way more competitive than I thought it would be based on the odds because I really didn't know anything about Estela Nunez.
Yeah, well, Jauregui, man, she's a very interesting prospect. I mean, 23 years old, 9-0 coming into this one. And but you're right. That all being said, round one, Estela Nunez turned into a banger, man. And I actually gave her the first round. It was a banger. She got a knockdown with the punch. And I mean, in all fairness, Jauregui recovered well. And I thought she even went on to kind of win the end of the round. However, I thought that the knockdown, and there was some decent kicks in there, and then she stuffed some Jauregui takedowns. I thought Nunez did enough to win round one, but in a competitive round, a fun round.
I also thought that Jauregui was kind of walking into some of those counter shots, was eating some stiff counters. I mean, as much as her octagon control or aggression was good, she was being punished for it, so it really wasn't like to her benefit, right? More to her detriment to be controlling the octagon with the way that Estela Nunez was fighting against her. I also gave Nunez round one.
And she was fighting like a fighter who's never lost, right? And Nunez, you can kind of see the welcome to the NFL moment or welcome to the UFC moment of like, oh shit, I can't just stalk everyone down and do whatever the fuck I want to do. Like, there's shit flying back at me and it's too fun. But yeah, no, you're right. Very fun first round. Nunez performed very well. But that being said, like I said, I kind of had Jauregui kind of peaking towards the end of the round. She was able to kind of carry that into round two. I thought she fought much better in round two. She got her own knockdown in round two, but then she capitalized on it so much better than Nunez. Like, so whenever Nunez got the knockdown in round one, kind of just let Jauregui right back up. But like,
Jauregui power,
yeah.
I couldn't believe Nunez survived the flurry, the onslaught there after the first knockdown, because like Nunez was hurt and eating a lot of shots. Like, good on her to survive there, but she was clearly hurt the rest of the round, I thought.
Yeah, like sometimes ground and pound is kind of like that Blanchfield ground and pound, where especially in the women's fights, where it's just kind of volume more so than like damage or impact. You can't necessarily say they're clean shots or hard shots, but cumulatively they pile up. No, these were hard
shots.
Like light heavyweight men ground and pound. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, they're obviously strawweight women here. I don't know if we mentioned that, but I mean, just big, hard, clean ground and pound. And you're right. Fight could potentially have been stopped a little sooner. It was on its way to a 10-8. I mean, it was dominant round from Jauregui. Then 4 minutes and 6 seconds in, ref steps in and stopped it. Thought it was a good stoppage. Thought it was a great fight. Honestly, Cormier was like, oh shit, now these fans are going to be spoiled. They're going to be booed.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, yeah, but you got to love whenever the card starts off with the banger, especially with, I'll be real, I wasn't chomping at the bit to watch Jauregui and Nunez, but I mean, they definitely got us our non-money's worth.
Yeah, right. That's kind of how I felt about this card. It was like very top heavy, right? Like the top main card is insanely stacked. And even the end of the prelims is pretty stacked too.
Yeah.
But like the early prelims of what they would have usually done for this, right, with 14 fights. I mean, yeah, the first 3 fights you don't really have to care too much about. All that being said, I will say Marcelo Rojo, pretty tough opponent coming up here next. We have Francis Marshall in his debut, I do believe, right?
The Fire Marshal.
The Fire Marshal, 23 years old, so big-time prospect, featherweight. Minus 165 in the debut against Marcelo Rojo at plus 140. I thought that was pretty big respect from Vegas. So obviously Francis Marshall, they take him pretty seriously. Now I do think the lights were pretty big on him. He looked a little starstruck by the crowd and the size of the arena and everything at first. I just thought.
Yeah, for sure. Remember Cormier mentioned he looked a little tight, a little nervous. He's also 6-0 coming into this. He's got some undefeated prospects jerking the curtain. And the featherweight match. Yeah, round one was close, like you said, because Marshall was pretty tight. I thought Rowe was able to capitalize that, especially at the start of the round when
Right.
the nerves were at the highest. He was getting some good damage drops, landed some clean punches. And it was one of those things where, like, Rowe won the start of the round and the end of the round,
but the whole
and
in
then
between,
Marshall.
yeah, it was all Marshall. It's exactly what it was. I gave it to Marshall. I thought he did more. Now, if you wanted to give it to Rojo for the damage from the elbows at the end, because those 4 up elbows did all hit really clean. Probably the most impactful strikes, minus the drop that Marshall got. So I scored it 10-9 Marshall, but I think it was at least a close round.
Yeah, I ended up giving it to Rojo because it was like Rojo got out to the lead at the beginning, right? But then Marshall got the takedown and stuff, kind of evened it up. So I considered I had it even. Those elbows at the end were kind of enough to kind of tilt the scales, or for my little finger metaphor here, for him to pass him up. But very close round. I liked Marshall's work. He had a lot of success in there. I just thought like Rojo was hurting him at the start of the round, hurting him at the end of the round. Marshall's success was more control-based. Don't hate it. I'll leave Rojo. And then also Marshall was advancing some position. He was doing some things.
He was doing work on the ground too. Like I didn't think he was inactive on the ground.
Yeah, for sure. Fair enough. But then, man, I gotta admit, I don't think anybody saw Marshall getting the knockout in round 2, especially early in the round with the hands. I
don't think Marshall himself saw it.
In the post-fight interview, he seemed very surprised. He's like, yeah, I didn't expect it to be wrestling, but I ended up getting a knockout. And that's cool. You got to appreciate that honesty. Round 2 lasted a minute and 14 seconds. Like, Rojo just wasn't defensively sound. It was like he saw this young kid, he knew he could hurt him, and he kind of got a little wild, a little reckless. Like,
and he kind of did hurt him in that flurry, but like, I mean, your point's fantastic because him hurting him essentially gave him the overconfidence to like keep going for it, and that led to him getting counterstruck and put down.
Yeah, listen, credit to Marshall. I mean, everybody viewed him as a wrestler. He viewed himself as a wrestler. He openly told us that. And then he gets the knockout against a pretty gnarly striker on the feet. I mean, granted, Rojo's one of these guys where, you hear the name and you're like, oh, yeah, I know Marcelo Rojo. And then you look at Tapology and it gets less impressive the more you look at it.
True.
But
just a good name. Just a name.
But I mean, in a debut, right? I mean, turn your 6-0 to a 7-0 against a name that some hardcore fans have heard of. I mean, and Marshall, I remember him being. I remember him from the Contender Series. I think he's the most recent series of the most recent season of the Contender Series, and so I think he's doing he's putting on exciting fights. He's a Contender Series guy. I feel like he's kind of doing the right things that you'd want to see from a 6-0 young guy, 23 years old, just like Howard. So exciting prospects to start off the card, and like sometimes I'll be like, and they both have good wins over decent opponents too. Like performed well. It's like kind of want to lump Marshall and Harvey together for this little fallout, little breakdown, because it's like sometimes it was like, oh, it was a good win, but 6-0. I'm not going to shovel too much coal, but I think medium levels of coal shoveling are totally warranted, maybe more so than hardwood just because of the division she's in. But strawweight jam-packed too.
I definitely think I like Marshall coming out of this card. I think I like his size at featherweight. Like, I think he looks healthy at the weight. I don't think he looks.
And he's young. He got the weight. Like,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like he's killing himself to make 35, which you see a lot of young guys trying to do, which I think overall is a mistake. And if he's a grappler with that kind of power and good counter timing, I'm here to see it.
Skill set. Yeah, there was some fight IQ stuff. And once he got over the nerves and his weight, he wasn't just like shooting takedowns just to shoot him. Like his
planning and timing,
his understanding. You're right. There's a lot to like there. We can keep it pushing to another guy a lot of people are high on. Got Natan Levy minus 200 fighting Genaro Valdez plus 170. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know a ton about Valdez, but we've watched Levy fight a few times. And
I'm very interested to see how you score this, by the way, because I think I have a scorecard you don't have.
Okay, fair enough. Started off as in the lightweight division. Tom Levy, big, athletic, explosive lightweight. I give round 1 to Levy. I thought so this was a weird round. Like the first, 3.5 minutes of this round was very close, very competitive, like kind of coin toss 50-50. But like in the last 90 seconds of the round, fucking Levy hurt him like 3 times, man.
Right, had him multiple times.
Dropped him with a punch, and one was a right, and it was all different too. One was a right hook, one was a hook kick to the head, and one was a spinning kick to the body. All 3 hurt him in various, varying levels. I think the hook is what dropped him. But, I mean, the head kick, that's why people like Levy. I'll be real, coming into this one, I thought Levy was maybe a little overhyped, a little overrated, but he showed why the skill set is kind of unique. I thought it was kind of cool that they put him on the Wonder Boy card, like likes the spinning kicks. Like, I don't know if that was intentional or not, but just, very interesting style, very explosive style.
Super athletic too. You can tell from his frame, he's got that explosive build to him.
Yeah, he got that Israel chemistry for sure. But yeah, I went 10-9 just because most of the round was very close. But if you went 10-8, I don't hate it because there's the knockdown. The head kicks. The big damaging, techniques. I went 10-9 just because you can't necessarily say it was a dominant round, even though there were some very dominant moments and dominant end to the round. I don't know, bro. How'd you see it?
So the way I looked at it, there were 2 times that the fight was close to being finished, and Valdez was able to survive it, right?
Fair point.
So the one time I would have been fine with 10-9, but taking into account that he almost got finished twice in 5 minutes, and the amount of damage he took surviving, I went 10-8. No judge did, which I was kind of surprised by. I thought at least one judge might lean to it. Maybe I'm wrong. I just really appreciated the fact that Levy didn't take that much damage and did a lot. I think discrepancy of damage has to be taken into account.
You're right. I think. Well, what do they say now? What's the buzzwords? I think the duration part, because it's damage, dominance, and duration, or whatever. I think the 3Ds. I think. Like I said, he really won 90 seconds of the round. Now, that's some kind of lawyer ball. You're right. It was supposed to be a stop. He almost knocked him out. The damage was a lot. And so, like I said, I don't necessarily have a problem with it. I think just watching it live, maybe if I rewatched it, I may come to that conclusion. But watching it live, it was man, most of this round, I think it was the dominance and duration. I think it was 10-8 damage. But I don't think it was 10-8 dominance, and I don't think it was 10-8 duration, if I really want to split hairs or just really try to get inside the judges' heads as well. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that to the table. Round 2, Lee, I think he was worried about gassing. Because in round 2, he would do the same thing where he wouldn't do really much at the first half of the round, and then towards the end of the round, he would start to pour it on. I don't think that's a coincidence. And if that's what he has to do to not gas, because they say he's very muscular, very explosive.
Yeah.
So if that's his way of
very
managing
thin in
the
the
gas
waist,
tank,
too. It looks like he cuts a lot of weight out of his actual. He's very muscled down.
I think lightweights cut the most weight.
I would imagine so. It's usually a guy that's 185, 190, a regular dude.
Like Poirier, Dober, Khabib back in the day, Islam. All these guys.
If Conor ever again fights 55, which I don't think he can.
I don't think so. I bet my left nut he does it.
Dude, the picture.
I think he'll fight at 55, but it'll be at 70.
At 70, I agree. We'll get there. But yeah, I thought that Levy with the takedown, I thought Valdez did good amount of damage in the start. I thought Levy answered with some damage. Probably was losing the first half of the round. The amount of time he controlled the second half of the round. Some okay damage on bottom, not really much. Kind of a boring end of the round, I won't lie. Still scored it to Levy. I had a 2017 after 2.
Yeah, I had a 2018 after 2. Yeah, Levy was able to recover whenever Valdez would land some shots.
Two judges had this 1919, by the way.
That's a tough sell for me. That's a tough sell.
Me too.
I don't. Like I said, I don't really have the word close in my notes.
I didn't think it was that close.
It wasn't. And then round 2, I don't think it was the best round in the world for Levy, but I don't think there's much argument for Valdez. Valdez definitely had a better second round. He definitely had some success. But yeah, the takedown, the leg kicks, the body kicks, I'm pretty sure the significant strike numbers were in Levy's favor. I don't know, man. Unless you're just a judge who absolutely hates leg kicks and hates trick takedowns.
Hates Israel. Kanye was in the judging booth.
Nicely done, sir. And then round 3, I also thought it was pretty interesting. Like, because Levy was having like all that success on the feet at the end of round 1, but then in rounds 2 and 3, kind of turns into a wrestler, busts out a singlet.
Seemed like it was by a decision that he started to grapple in the 3rd round, though. I think he thought he was ahead because I thought the 3rd round he focused almost solely on grappling, trying to keep it a close affair, not let long distance strikes be thrown, and kind of.
But also he did land a head kick, and he did have some nice combos with the hands, so he mixed it up. But you're right. After round 1, much more, clinching, grappling, kind of the trip style takedowns more so than like double legs.
Kind of limiting the amount of damage he could take too. Almost like he knew he got ahead, and was like, if I can just win 1 of 2.
Or maybe he felt something from Valdez at the start of round 2 that he didn't like.
Yeah, he did get kind of cracked up where he was like, maybe I don't want to take these strikes.
For sure, man. And so I had around 3-10-9 lead, so I ended up with 30-27. It sounds like
I had 30-26.
Hot take McGee over here. No, but I honestly don't think that's the worst 30-26. It makes sense. I'm not mad at it.
We've seen worse.
No, the 220, I like your 30-26 more than I like the 2 judges 29-28.
That's how I feel, yeah.
I think that's the best way to juxtapose it.
Right. It's more teetering on a 30-26 than a 29-28. By far, no question.
Like, I had no point where I was like, oh yeah, Valdez might be winning this. Or whenever they got to the scorecards, like, this could go either way.
Like, imagine if the 3rd round had been like a war back and forth, and you and I both score it for Levy, and then all of a sudden it's a split decision, and the 2 judges that gave him 2 give him 3, and fucking Valdez wins the fight. Like, that's how close you are in that situation. It's like that last 5 minutes was literally going to be maybe Levy getting robbed in a split.
Yeah, that would have been a real travesty. Especially, I think there's some fun things you can do with Levy. I mean, like I said, hell, they're gonna. Granted, not that Jared Gordon's a can, but it's like if they're gonna keep giving Patty cans, give him a fun can. Like give him a Levy. Like I don't know. Like, am I super high on Levy? No, but I do think that there's some fun fights in this division for Levy. I think there's some fun stuff that you can do with Levy. Like, that's kind of a lukewarm take, but I think that's my biggest takeaway. Like Levy's a guy you can, depending on the matchup, much like our main event, much like a Kevin Holland, much like a Wonder Boy Thompson, there's some fun things you can do with Levy. Now, is he, world beater, future champ? Probably not, especially in this division for wrestlers, but there's fun matchups to be had. I mean, there's guys, even on this card, you could have some fun matchups with them against, and we'll get to those, but, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I'm just kind of lukewarm on Levy. Obviously, there's some holes in his game, but also there's a lot of very bright spots and very, he checks some boxes for sure. He's big, he's strong, he's explosive. I mean, he's hell on the feet. I mean, if you're going to try to strike with him, we're going to get, fight of the night type fights. I mean, he's going to throw spinning head kicks, and he's going to, you know what I mean? He has big power. He has a chin. He can take his own shot. So it's like he's kind of tall. So it's not like he's like the stocky Michael Chandler build. So he can match up with some of the taller guys.
And he can sell to all the Jewish people.
Yeah, and I
know that sounds silly, but that kind of is a real thing. Like, he is the only Israel-born fighter.
Like, exactly. You take this guy to New York, or you take this guy,
Pennsylvania, like anywhere northeast. Like, you're in Hollywood, you're in a good spot.
Maybe keep him out of Abu Dhabi, but he's a marketable guy, good-looking guy. I think the Mohawk's very 2003, but hey, whatever.
Hey, best hairstyle on the card came in the main event. No doubt, no argument.
No argument. Maybe an argument or two, but we'll get there. Man. If Tom Levy gets the win, we'll keep it pushing. Like I said, I'm glad he didn't get robbed. I mean, Genaro Valdez had a few moments, but to think that he almost won that fight is kind of laughable. Let's keep it pushing to that damage. Talking about damage duration, we got Darren Elkins plus 370 against Jonathan Pierce minus 460. From a betting perspective, I like the Elkins just value.
The sprinkle.
I definitely hit the Yanni sprinkle on some Elkins. Now, just because on the thought, it's like minus 460 means he's going to get finished. Elkins doesn't get finished. And in hindsight, the over would have been the bet.
Or Pierce by decision.
Or Pierce by decision. The lame ass Reno sportsbooks don't give you the detailed props, unfortunately, at least not on MMA. Granted, there's a new casino that just opened up here, and I think it's supposed to have a Vegas-style sportsbook. So I'm wondering if I can get some more of these specific props. It's a little bit of a drive out in the Sparks, but I want to go check it out. It just opened up. Yeah, out there by Shields, my northern Nevada folks know what I'm talking about. But yeah, man, I mean, so I said I like Elkins, but in reality, like, psychoanalyzing my own terrible bets, I really like the over. I really should have bet the over. I bet a bunch of overs on this card, and this wasn't one of them. I took Elkins money line. The plus 370 juiced me in. You got that Yanni glint in my eye when I saw that plus 370 value.
Can I give you a crazy stat? Pierce plus 180 wins by decision.
Great value there.
Plus 110 over 2.5.
See, I like that value too because they said Elkins doesn't get finished.
Yeah, but plus 110 over 2.5 is actually crazy good.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I just feel dumb because in my argument for Elkins, I wasn't making an argument for Elkins. I was making an argument for the over.
In your text, you literally text me, you're like, Elkins can't get finished. Like, I like him to maybe be able to pull it off, and I'm like, well, why don't you just bet it to go the distance?
Yeah, it's on me. That's on me. I literally misinterpreted my own logic. But yeah, so that's what we're looking at from a betting perspective. If Darren Elkins is fighting, the over is never a bad bet. And Jonathan Pierce, I know he's good. It wasn't me sleeping on Jonathan.
Really good. Like, he's really good. Like, I remember the last time he was out, we talked about how we really like JSP.
Yeah, underrated for sure. I mean, still fighting on the prelims because he is so fucking just vanilla, right?
Yeah, like I was going to say, probably a prelim guy still. Like, I don't hate that he's there. I think he belongs there.
I'll say this win over Elkins ought to count for something. I mean, Elkins is a name we know. I mean, it's crazy. To our point, this fight was all over ESPN. JSP was in none of the pictures. Like ESPN's Instagram, ESPN MMA's Instagram, they were all tweeting out the picture of Elkins bloody. Nobody mentioned that. Nobody didn't even mention who he fought. There's just something about the lack of marketability for JSP.
I think that's going to change here soon. Do you want to go round by round, or do you just want to talk about the overall synopsis of the fight and maybe debate whether or not you had a 10-8 anyway?
Yeah, I don't think we have to go round by round. I mean, all JSP. I mean, the only debate is if you had any 10-8s.
I had round 2 as a 10-8.
See, I had round 3 as a 10-8, which just goes to show how one-sided this fight was and how much damage Elkins was taking. I thought round 3. I mean, round 3 was the round that caused the cut that pretty much ended. It resulted in the doctor stopping.
I couldn't believe they didn't stop it.
Did they not?
The doctor let him finish out.
Yeah.
And Elkins was saying to him, it's a fucking fight. Like, literally, as he's like taking him out, he goes, it's a fucking fight, man. Like, okay.
I gotta say,
it's a sport.
If that doctor's a fight fan, which he probably is, right?
Clearly.
I mean, you gotta factor in that it's Darren Elkins, right?
And then it's 2 minutes.
2 minutes left. It's like we all remember what happened to Masvidal, Nate Diaz. Like everybody, that was lame as fuck. Everybody knew Nate Diaz was fine and could protect himself at all time and was, if this fight would have been stopped, it would have been very reminiscent of Masvidal Diaz one. What caused you to give the 10-8 in round 2 as opposed to round 3? Just the elbows, or?
Yeah, just like. The ground and pound looks so vicious, man. Like the elbows, both standing and on the ground. I thought Elkins got more beat up in round 2. I just thought the cut got open in 3 because of all the damage he took in 2.
Well, and also, I think the reason why I didn't give it, because I honestly almost probably gave 2 10-8s, but I honestly thought it's going to be kind of a stretch to say that. I thought round 2 was Elkin's best round. He had the moment. He got the takedown, and he took JSP's back. Now JSP reversed it and got off a fuckload of damage, as you alluded to.
Elkins is slick with duck unders and hopping to the back. He did it 2 or 3 times to the point where I was like, damn, if he actually catches one of these and gets a submission, like, what a wizard. To be able to have that weapon with the chin, kind of a recipe for success, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's what I'm saying. Like, Elkins is, I mean, he's a tough guy to bet against, too. I think that's more what it was, too. It's like, God, I really want to bet against here.
Especially now they're minus 460. Like, where's my value? Wow.
Yeah, that's a butthole clincher right there. But yeah, I mean, JSP dominated. Like I said, we both have. Now, what round did the judge give a 10-8? What he agreed with you? Wow. Fair enough. I do think it's weird that nobody gave round 3 a 10-8. I guess I'm not arguing.
I have no notes that it was very possible. The only, literally just like Elkins not quitting might have been the only and that's like a human spirit reason. That's not even like anything to do with the fight. I'm just like, respect to Elkins, never gave up.
I'm not arguing. I think this was closer to a 30-25 than a 30-27. Like, I think we're both kind of right.
That I agree with.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, it was just elbows, and I mean, anytime Elkins would be able to get the duck under, take the bag, JSP would always be able to kind of reverse it, get out of it, get the fight back to where he wanted it. I mean, the front kick to the face in round 1 was very nice. I mean, it was just all JSP. Let's be real. I mean, he was winning the striking, he was winning the grappling. Like, even when he would lose a grappling sequence, he would kind of make it right. You know what I'm saying? He would kind of end up where he needed to be, even if there was some murkiness in the middle, or Elkins might have won a scramble or two. He would end up, in the end, JSP would still, you know, be in the dominant position, still be getting off way more damage. Watching Elkins fight, it was just like this fight was so violent. I saw comments that I haven't heard since like 2007 that like MMA is too brutal of a sport. This isn't a sport. This is like sadism. This fight was so violent that it busted out like the fucking 1999 narratives on MMA of like, oh, this is brutality, not
what they expect. It's Darren Elkins. His nickname's the Damage.
Yeah, it's the damage. It's the scar tissue. Exactly. Like, if this was like a 23-year-old fighter bleeding as bad as Elkins was, I would definitely view it differently. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's just certain guys, dude. There's certain guys, and Elkins is on that list. The Shane Burgoses of the world.
Nega Mariano.
The Nega Marianos. Nate Diaz. Like, I'm just not worried about it. They're all right. You know
hey, it's what they do.
Yeah, now let me ask you this. Like, do you think that is fair to kind of like factor in? Like, if you're a doctor, if you're a rep, or do you or do you think that's just like an unintended kind of human nature reaction, or do you think that should be like actually factored into the like whether or not the fight is stopped? Like subconsciously or consciously? I think it is factored in, but I'm saying, do you think it should be a subconscious human nature thing, or like fair play to actually like consider it and acknowledge it?
I actually think you do have to think about it, man. I really do. Just because certain fighters are going to be able to defend themselves better in darker places, let's say, like in quotes, like darker, like more hazy positions. Some of those guys are able to defend themselves much better than other guys are. So in that aspect, like, they're not defensively unsafe, I don't think.
Yeah, totally. And that's another thing. Darren Elkins was always moving, always defending.
Always defending. He just gets beat up.
Hell, even still attacking.
Right.
Yeah, no, for
hey,
sure.
By the way, shout out Sam Alvey. We talked about dudes that were getting beat up a lot, I think. I just wanted to
very relevant shout out. But, you know, I think it's fair play to consider it as well. I think it has to be earned. I think it's like you can't give people the benefit of the doubt. Said if the 23-year-old, if old Francis Marshall was bleeding that bad, I think you go ahead and stop the fight. I do think it's different. Because I'll always go back to Masvidal Diaz, man. Like we all knew that Diaz was fine. We were all pissed that fight was stopped.
It's one of the most BS stoppages of all time.
Yeah, it's not like any of us wanted to see bad things happen to Diaz. Quite the opposite, right? We were mad
he was coming back.
Exactly. And I think there's certain fighters you have to take it into consideration for. 100%. I think that's fair play. I mean, right? It's like in football, if you're Brett Favre's athletic trainer and he's not stealing from poor people, and you're going to put him back in the game because you know the guy can go, and you know he can hit it.
You're dirty for that one. You know what you did. You know what you did.
But yeah, like when he's in between stealing from poor people, the guy can fucking play through anything. And like, so it's like, as an athletic trainer, I feel very good about putting him back in the game and keeping him away from the Mississippi bank accounts. But,
hey, man, you got to give Brett Favre a break.
Oh, man. Fucking.
What a scumbag.
Real piece of shit. But,
okay, so I guess.
Blow my nose and pour some coffee, and I'll be right back.
There's a pushing off note I just want you to hear. JSP, newly ranked number 15 featherweight.
Ooh. All right, yeah, let's talk about this. I can suck it up just for a little bit. Who's ranked above him? What's next?
Oh, yeah, Rankings McGee is back. Look at him. Look at him. Back.
Well, JSP, it has to be Rankings McGee because he's not going to get like a fun call-out matchup or some big name. Like, it has to be Rankings when you're boring like JSP. Let's be real.
All right, so here's what we're looking at.
I also hate how they changed the font. Just to like show it's like updated, they changed the font on like the ranking website. Lame.
So Bryce Mitchell's gonna fight Ilya Topuria
next week. Can't fucking wait.
That's 9-14. Evloev's 10. Sadiq Yusuf's 11. Ige's 12. Barboza's 13.
I want to say Ige was matched up with somebody, unless that fell through. Let's go to Ige's topology real quick. Because if Ige is not matched up, then that's the fight. But I could have sworn you had a fight coming up. Let's see real quick.
I can see
Ige's booked against Damon Jackson. That's a fun one. And I'm actually glad Damon Jackson got the name value.
And honestly, if Ige wins that, still give him Jonathan Pierce. And if Damon Jackson wins, maybe
give him Jonathan
14,
Pierce.
Damon Jackson 15, you make them fight.
I'm not mad at that because, like I said, JSP doesn't do himself. Edson Barbosa is sitting there, and you could make that fight. I don't think it's a fight that like people necessarily want to see, or it would make sense purely based off rankings. I think the UFC would probably rather do something else with Barbosa, but also maybe not at this point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how much they still have Barbosa on a pedestal. I know that's definitely
it's got to be going down. He's just old.
No, he's old. He's taking some L's, some bad L's. He's taking some damage. And I think Yusuf deserves something better. Yusuf's been winning, and Yusuf's been shutting me the hell up. I used to put no respect on Yusuf's name, and I got to now. Yusuf, I think it'd be messed up to put Yusuf all the way back against the no-name guy like JSP.
He's been in the 7 to 13 range for like 4 years. Now. Like,
I know.
He break the mold, so he's kind of that gatekeeper inside to the top 5 / out of the top 10.
Yeah, for sure. He's sitting at 11 right now. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to see that JSP got the ranking. I think skill set wise he earned it. I think it's going to be tough for him to climb these rankings just because the featherweight division does have the big names at the top.
I don't like how he matches up. He doesn't have an overwhelming skill that we can point to for when he needs to go to it.
I think cardio. Now that's probably the least glamorous.
You got to get 5-round fights if that's gonna be your thing.
Yeah, and he'll get there. Maybe he'll get there eventually. That's not really something that he can control. But the pace he put on with Elkins, and Elkins is known for his cardio, and he was matching, if not exceeding it. Yeah, I don't know, man. You're right. I think the winner of Ige Jackson is my favorite matchup.
Makes the most sense, I think.
For sure, man.
Speaking of I'll be right back. Yeah, you go ahead. I'll introduce this next one. Kind of give it some build up. So, next fight, lightweight. By the way, 5th fight on the prelims here out of 7. Like, we went 7 prelim fights, 7 main card fights, 14. And if you are in the comments, they used to do a 4-5-5 breakdown, right? So, 4 early prelim, 5 prelim, 5 main card. I think because this had so many stacked fights, they actually just did the extended main card, 7 fights. If you're a fan of that, drop it in the comments below. I actually like it as well because you only do 2 broadcasts instead of 3. A little less to keep up with there. But in this lightweight bout, we got Michael Johnson, veteran light heavyweight. I'm talking fought Khabib inside when they were both top 10 guys before Khabib's rise to the title. Brutal fight with great highlights if you've ever seen it. Against Mark Jacasey, which minus 330. You'd think Jacasey being minus 330, big favorite. Johnson kind of on his way out. Young guy, old guy. The only thing about it is that Michael Johnson is stupidly good as a veteran. I mean, the savvy he has and the way he fights and his speed is crazy. So, I mean, you talk about, and his ability to eat a shot's pretty impressive too. He's a tough guy. But you talk about Michael Johnson's speed mixed slightly with his power and his ability to eat a shot, and it can be problems for guys if you don't get out ahead of it and keep managing it the whole fight. So for Jacasey, this was kind of you're minus 330 because like you are the better fighter, but if you don't put it really on paper, on the mat, on the canvas, Michael Johnson can beat you. I mean, he's a dangerous guy, and his first 5 minutes is some of the most dangerous 5 minutes you can fight with in the octagon.
So I parlayed the Michael Johnson plus 275 with my Elkins plus 370. It ended up being like 17-1 on a 2-legger, which would have been fucking sweet. The thing is, bro, I'm just a Jacasey hater. I mean, Jacasey's a striker who can outstrike people and out-wrestle a couple cans. And
I don't like Jacasey. I think he gets a lot of push from UFC England, UFC, and like guys like Bisping. Because when Bisping was talking about Jacasey, he was talking about like, yeah, whenever he was hitting pads and mitts in the gym, like you had to see him, like blah blah. I was like, cool, man. He doesn't show up when he's in the octagon.
Yeah, but he looks like hitting pads in the gym. Yeah, no, like I think he's overrated. No, granted, he's fighting Michael Johnson. The guy's record's 21-18. So I understand.
Michael Johnson's so tough, though, man. If you look at his topology, like he has losses to elite soldiers, like probably like 13.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like I said, I don't think Jacasey. I don't think there's a fighter on the UFC roster where I would want Jacasey to be a minus 330. And I mean that dead serious. So it's not that I had all the confidence in the world in Johnson. It's just like I spotted value just like from what I perceive to be a fucked up money line.
Well, and like we talked about, man, Michael Johnson, usually that first 5 minutes, he's so dangerous. Like, he'll crack dudes, he'll rock them. Like, and for a younger fighter, that can kind of change the way you fight the rest of the fight out, right? If you're not a veteran, if you can't recover the right way. Jacasey's usually that guy. Now, all that being said, Jacasey had a better work rate. I thought he was a better striker, and I thought he won round 1, 10-9.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's so weird that we're talking about Michael Johnson first 5 minutes, and then he comes out and loses the first 5 minutes of this one. I wonder if any of that was intentional. Like he's kind of his coaches, and obviously he's watched the film, and he probably knows that about himself too. So he's like, maybe he wanted to not come out and blow his load early. Who knows? You're right. And also, MJ, he was firing back, and he was just missing with those signature MJ bombs. But they weren't being accurate. They were missing. They weren't landing. They weren't causing damage. But he was firing, and he was trying, and he hadn't really found that range, that timing yet. Now round two is whenever MJ really started putting on the pressure. He started marching forward, putting Jacasey on his back foot, and that's when he started having success. Just the activity, the hands started to finally find the mark. He finally got that distance down, that range down, and he started putting the hands on Jacasey.
It was also like Jacasey couldn't wake up. Like he started getting tagged up, and you never saw him change anything. Because I thought rounds 2 and 3 looked extremely similar.
Identical, verbatim. My notes are like verbatim. So
right. It's just, and I think lumping them together is fine because it's Jacasey not answering the shots that Michael Johnson is landing. Michael Johnson is just fighting smart, man. Like he's picking his shots, he's baiting out Jacasey to throw, and he's feinting a bunch. Michael Johnson was feinting a shit ton, kind of freezing Jacasey. Like it was just a veteran guy using like veteran tactics and techniques.
I think Johnson's a much better fighter. I mean, what would Jacasey's record look like? Yeah, like I mean, what would Casey's record look like if he fought the guy that Johnson's fought? You know what I'm saying? Hell, what would anybody's record look like if he fought the guy that Michael Johnson fought?
Casey's probably 15-24 if he fights the same 39 fights. Like, no,
that's what I'm saying, dude. Like that's what I'm saying. Like this one was few. Like this is one where
I think Vegas thought Michael Johnson was old. I literally think that's where this line comes from. Is like they just bet on the age difference.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not like Casey's a spring chick or some young lion. You know what I'm saying? I just, I don't know. I'm not trying to, like I said, this one to me was kind of obvious. The Elkins one was admittedly a stretch, and I was trying to steal something, you know, and get lucky. But
right.
I felt like I honestly should have bet this as a straight. Like I especially
we kind of called this one right. We both talked about how we love this value on Michael Johnson as one of the the better value straights you could bet on this whole card.
Yeah, for sure, dude. Like a whole lot more of me being down on Ducote. Now, granted, I do like this kind of matchmaking. If Michael Johnson's still going to be around, and all the heavy lifting he's done, you know, giving him the Ducotes of the world kind of seems right? You know what I mean? I think.
Also, Ducote not being smart enough to wrestle is his own fault.
Yeah, I know it's like the ultimate hater. I'm not so sure Ducote could out-wrestle Michael Johnson either. Like, I legitimately think Michael Johnson's a better fighter. Like, does he make some like dumb fight IQ decisions and blow his load sometimes? Sure. Does he, you know, is he getting older? Definitely. Skill for skill, still give me Johnson over Ducote, man. I feel that way strongly, even more so now that I picked that correctly. So I guess we keep it pushing, but you know, great performance from Michael Johnson. Like I said, I think if he's going to be around, these are the type of fights you need to give him. You know what I'm saying?
Legends division.
Yeah, exactly. Just like they do in Matt Brown, or like they were, you know,
Robbie Lawler.
Like, I think it's okay to have a couple of those. I think it's okay to have a couple of those around. For sure. And I mean, speaking of Legends division.
Jesus Christ, both these guys.
Yeah, for sure. And, we got Clay Guida, 40 years old, fighting his 9,000th UFC fight. Plus 165 dog, fighting Scott Holtzman, minus 195. And Holtzman announced that this was going to be his final fight. And hey, call me lacking McGee. I wasn't aware of that. Or I would have been at my local sports book hammering it. I mean, that's like almost like a policy for us at this point, right? Like if a guy announces his last fight,
I've never seen a guy win when he announces it. I've never seen it. I've never, out of like 7 times, I've never seen it.
I know somewhere out there it's happened, but I swear to God, it seems like I'm not a really big like trend better, like I'm kind of which maybe I should be, probably do better, but like I mean, that's a trend that I take to the bank. Like, that's almost become like a policy for me.
Yeah, like I'd put that shit in a crypto market and tell you it's worth 18 times it's worth within an hour. Like that's a crazy stupid bet. You know what I mean? Like I literally can't think of one guy that's retired in the modern era of UFC that's announced his retirement that hasn't fucking looked. I mean, Holtzman was the closest one to winning out of all of them. Everyone else gets put to sleep.
Holtzman looked good. He fought well. It was funny that my wife was watching these with me, and she heard him talking about it. Somebody retiring and being in the last fight, and she just like assumed it was Guida because like he looked so old.
Yeah, 34th UFC fight. Has fought since like 2006 professionally.
I was like, no, it's actually the other guy that retired. But oh no, it was pretty cool because like I was actually watching this fight while I was getting tatted, and like the guy tapped me. You know, he's a little bit older than us, and he cool guy and everything, but he's not like a hardcore UFC fan or anything. But he was like, oh shit, is that Clay Guida? He's still fighting. Like he knew, like Clay Guida's an institution. Like people that have watched fights, like
said he wants to get 40 fights too. Like said he wants to keep fighting.
Well, I gotta say, man, some of the guys, i.e. the Frankie Edgar, the past couple fights, or there's examples out there of just guys that we Cowboys Cerrone's last couple fights where we were like literally like, I'm tired of watching this. This doesn't even need to be sanctioned by a governing body.
You're just getting beat up. It's like get him out.
This isn't fun anymore for even us as fans.
So I feel about Tony Ferguson.
Tony Ferguson, fair enough. I think he's kind of got himself into that category as well. Clay Guida, I don't feel that way about, man. He still has the dog in him. He still has the cardio. He still has the chin. He still has
the heavy grappling approach. Like, he avoids a lot of extra damage. Now, he takes a lot of damage. Still has a crazy chin. Has somehow with that amount of fight miles and age. Still has a chin that holds up. But still making weight. Better about it. Yeah,
still making weight, still fighting in the same weight class. He's not grasping at straws trying to go up or down. Like, he's still just steady as she goes, man.
Now, all that being said, I thought Holtzman won like the entirety of round 1, except for the huge right that Guida landed at the very end and the flurry that Guida put on him. I had the first round 10-9 to Holtzman, but I thought Guida did some good things.
Oh, yeah, Holtzman came out looking great, man. I mean, he had the leg kicks. He even landed a head kick in there. He was stuffing Guida's takedowns, which we all pretty much assumed would be Guida's path to victory. So whenever he started stuffing him in the first round when Guida was fresh, I was like, oh, shit, all right, what do we got here? Now, round 2, Clay Guida was like, I won't be denied. He got, what was it, 4 takedowns? Maybe 3 at the least. I mean, he got 3 or 4 takedowns. That being said, you don't get 3 or 4 takedowns unless Holtzman's standing up from him. But I mean, there would be a little bit of control in there, enough to make it count.
Yeah, enough to establish, like, okay, this is a takedown and he's on top, and then Holtzman would essentially be able to push the hips off, get up. But it was a controlled takedown every time.
For sure. And then when they were on the feet, Clay Guida did some things better that he wasn't doing in round 1. He was doing a pretty good job of clinching it up and kind of burning some clock that way and not losing the stand-up that way. And also, he was firing back some pretty clean counters in round 2 that he was not getting off in round 1. So he kind of figured out a little bit of timing, a little bit of what Holtzman was trying to do. I still thought you could argue Holtzman won the damage battle in round 2.
See, that was what I had in my notes, was that as much as I lauded Guida for the certain small things he was doing, the takedowns, the better pace, the better control of distance, right, and the good end of the round, Holtzman did a lot of damage.
He landed some clean shots, and Holtzman was going first, which I think, I don't know, it's not officially a way to score a fight, but I think it kind of factors in the
action on that, you know what I mean? Yeah. All that being said, I scored to Guida. I did put it in my notes. I can see that round going either way.
Me too. It's like I felt good about giving it to Guida. I didn't even have the word like closer in my notes. However, I did know all the things that Holtzman did well, and it is conceivable that there's a judge that would value that more than Guida's takedown.
Yeah, he had a good list of accolades in the round.
For sure. So we both had a 19-19. Going into this one. And then round 3, as much as we just said round 2 kind of could go either way, round 3 I thought was the closest round. I thought it was the hardest round to score.
It was a story of 2 halves, right? Like
it was.
It was Holtzman winning the first half and Guida winning the second half, and Guida maybe doing enough damage at the end of the fight to win the round. That's at least how I saw it.
100%. And I think the style points for the slam takedown kind of had
a lot of energy to have at that point in the fight, too. Shows your cardio is good.
Yeah, man. At his age, dude, that's impressive.
His cardio is unquestioned.
Yeah, unquestioned, unwavering. Like I said, the style points for the slam takedown, the fact that, like, right, wrong, or indifferent, the end of the round, especially the end of round 3 in the 3-round fight, kind of a weighted grade there, right? I mean, even if it's unintentional, kind of just the way it is. And then, I thought that was pretty much it. Once again, if we're using like boxing scoring or like damage only, like video game health meter, maybe it goes to Holtzman. Like he was landing, cracking some hard shots, landing
close, man.
Yeah,
that's how I feel about this fight. Now, that being said, we both have the 29-28 Guida. 2 judges agree with us. 1 judge gives it to Holtzman, 29-28. I think it paints a great picture of how this fight.
I'm not even mad at that judge.
And I wouldn't have been mad if Holtzman won 29-28 and Guida got the split decision loss. Like, I think this fight was close enough. Now, I will say I think Guida did win the fight. Yeah. So I would have felt a little worse about it that way. But I do think a split Guida win is probably the best way to describe this fight.
100%. I think the judges got this one on the head. We give credit when it's due, you know. And honestly, narrative-wise, kind of works out best for the UFC, too. Because, I mean, Holtzman, he goes out 10 years from now when he's drinking a beer, like, one judge gave it to me.
I beat Guida that day. Like, if it had just been one more guy saw it my way, I swear I landed the better shots.
Exactly, you know, and then it gives Guida another win, so you can keep matching him up. You can still keep booking him. I mean, Guida is at the point, you know, if he did take a bad loss to an unranked guy, we probably would be calling into question where he's at, if he still got it, you know, all that things. That being said, so like I said, I think he goes out best for both guys. You know, Holtzman kind of goes out with his dignity. It's not like he's going out Frankie Edgar style. And then, you know, he goes out with his pride, his dignity, you know, and then Guida stacks another win. And like I said, I mean, I think Guida and Johnson fought earlier in their careers, right? If I'm not mistaken. So
yeah,
I don't know what really comes of that matchmaking. I'm not saying this is perfect.
Like Jim Miller, Clay Guida.
I think they fought maybe even twice, if I'm not mistaken.
Fuck, okay.
No, I mean, that's what's tough about those guys. They fought everybody and kind of recycle through. It's like dating in a small town, you know what I mean? But it's not perfect matchmaking. Hear me out. What about Tom Levy?
Barberena and Guida?
Well, I think Barberena's up to 70. I know Guida can make 70, but he's making 55 consistently. And Barberena's matched. I think Barberena might be stepping in short notice. I saw something about him stepping in short notice like next week. I don't know if he may have a suspension. I don't know if the commission would sanction. He was trying to get. Who was it? The Ponzinibbio fight. I think it's already been booked. They gave it to Alex Morono. He was throwing his name in the hat for the Ponzinibbio fight. The fucking dog. Fucking love his overall wearing ass. But you know, I don't know. There's fun fights. I said the Tom Levy, Clay Guida, but Clay Guida probably would just wrestle the whole time.
Yeah, interesting, but it's not gonna be fun.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean. No, all right. I mean, I know this is like the low-hanging fruit, lazy matchmaking. Hear me out. What does Clay Guida Tony Ferguson look like?
Oh, shit. That's a fun fight.
Are we there, though? Like, is that... I mean, Ferguson's at 15. I
think if Ferguson could, like, get a loss to fucking... Like,
he needs another loss. That's what Ferguson needs.
He needs to fall out of rankings because Guida doesn't deserve a ranked fighter. Because like if Guida wins that, I'm not gonna want Guida to be ranked.
See, I don't. Whenever guys like Guida are ranked 15, I don't necessarily hate it. But it's kind of a chess move because then whatever guy that's young that's not ranked that's mad.
I get that bullshit promotion move. I get that.
Playing chess, not checkers, boy. It is tough, though, because Guida, he has the recent losses to Players. Players look like should have get Dan Hooker. He has the loss to Mark Madsen, which we thought was a good loss. Maybe not as good as we thought. Yeah, before that, he already fought Michael Johnson in 2021, so that wasn't even that long ago. The loss to Bobby Green, lost to Jim Miller in 2019.
Shit.
So, a lot of those older guys, you know, he's already fought. The amount of people that he's fought that are now retired or in other promotions is wild. God, his Tapology is so epic. Oh, my God, Clay Guida. I mean, let me ask you this, Hall of Famer? I think I'm ready to go there. I think I'm ready to go there. I
think longevity. I think the fights he's put on. I think he just being so consistent. He almost never pulls out of fights. Like everything he's done for the UFC. Like he's a household name. Like I think the UFC has to respect household names as their Hall of Fame.
Exactly. The 15-year-old guy tattooing me that doesn't even watch fights that often knew who he was and was stoked to see him on the TV. So I mean, like, yeah. And I mean, check this out. Wins over Nate Diaz. Wins over RDA. Over Anthony Pettis in 2011 when Pettis was a dude.
That's primetime Pettis.
Yeah. I mean, Joe Lozon in 2017 when Lozon was still a guy. BJ Penn 2019 towards the end, you know, whatever. Michael Johnson.
Yeah. The longevity is what's impressive there. I mean, you just put 10 years back to back, right? Or bookended 10 years with good wins.
With good wins. Now, plenty of losses sprinkled throughout. But it's the guy in the hill.
Hey, Connor couldn't fight for 10 years.
Yeah, straight up. And the guys he's lost to, I mean, Jim Miller, Charles Oliveira, Brian Ortega. I mean, Chad Mendez. I mean, Benson Henderson. Like, you know, we had those losses.
Like just fucking soldiers.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm all for him being in the Hall of Fame, and honestly, Clay Wheat is honestly to the point where you can't go wrong with the matchmaking. You match him against the young lion, cool. We find out a whole lot about both guys. You match him up and give him a Legends Division fight, sure, we're here for it. Sign us up. Hell, I said, if you want to give him a guy back into the rankings, I don't think anybody's going to say like Clay Wheat can't defend himself, or as that's irresponsible matchmaking. You know what I mean? Like, since they gave it to Tony Ferguson, I think people would be hyped. I honestly think Tony Ferguson's the move, because if Tony Ferguson's going to get a win, it would be against Clay Wheat. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he has anything,
do you want that though? If you're the UFC, like, do you want that? Like, I want to finish Tony Ferguson and get him out.
That's the debate. If you feed him to a young lion and build up the name, or do you see like, can you get him right? Can you get this guy?
Too old. Not wasting any of that. No.
But
and you pay him too much. And you pay him too much per fight to keep doing that.
I'll say, dude.
You know that's the hook. You pay him too much.
Clay Wheat is probably making a pretty solid paycheck at this point too. Or at least I hope he is. And like those two guys together for what amounts to kind of an inconsequential fight to pay out that much. I do think that there's something to be learned from that, though, because it sounds to me like you don't have any questions about Tony Ferguson. Done. And I think that's fair to say. I think that's fair to say. But I also think it's fair to say, like, if you really want to know if he's done, say the UFC has some doubt if there's any juice left to squeeze, you would find that out against Clay Wheat. Because like I said, if Clay Wheat dominates him, then it's obvious he's done. And if he gets a win over Clay Wheat, it's a respectable enough win.
Feed him to Patty.
Actually, I'm here for that.
It's 1 week away. That's what you do with Tony Ferguson. That's why I can't even entertain the Clay Guida thing. Is like, it's very obvious Patty's just going to fight him and knock him out of the UFC.
Ooh. Well, see, I'd be stoked for that, because at least Patty be fighting somebody.
It's an easy sell. It's a guy that's going to talk shit, and it's also a huge name, and it's also an easy victory for Patty, which you want to keep doing if you're the UFC.
And it's a stand-up fight too,
right? Because Tony's too proud to try and grapple till he's too hurt.
Yeah, and I think that everybody dick rides Patty's jiu-jitsu. I don't think Patty's jiu-jitsu is nothing that Tony Ferguson couldn't handle.
No.
So I think you're right. I think the softened chin, the cracked chin would probably get exposed. And I'm not even a Patty dick rider. I think Patty probably does knock him out. But at least, guess what? If I'm going to watch Patty knock out somebody who's, probably shouldn't be in there with him, I want to see it be Tony Ferguson and not Kazula Vargas. So
right. I agree with you. That's what I'm saying. I think the sell is easy.
For sure, man. I got an interesting little story about this next fight, too. Got Angela Hill, plus 110, number 12 ranked strawweight against Emily Ducote, who I always forget from OKC, so made me like her a little more for sure, obviously. Shout out to 405. But
not her. We don't claim her.
Don't claim it. Minus 130 favorite, number 13 ranked strawweight. Which I realized, I was looking at her Tapology. I'm pretty sure she got the 13 off of one win in the promotion, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of weird.
Correct.
It's weird.
A lot of respect on her record, though, being a former champion.
Because the strawweight division is so stacked. So, like, one win in promotion. She had a good out-of-promotion schedule. I get it. Now, bro, I mean, this was all Angie Hill, bro.
I didn't score one round to Ducote, and I thought she got dominated in every single round.
Bro, Angela Hill was firing on all cylinders.
Ducote couldn't get a rhythm because Angela Hill was so like just bullet train, doing whatever she wanted, not giving a fuck about Ducote's rhythm. Like, it was crazy, man. It was like seeing someone in the zone fighting someone that doesn't even understand what's happening.
I mean, it may be the best I've ever seen Angie look. Like, straight up. Like I mean, she performed flawless. I mean, from a game plan strategy.
Like, could barely get hit.
From an intensity strategy, from a cardio strategy.
A pace, a volume.
Yeah, like a killer instinct. She was fucking being a dog in there. I mean, she really needed the win, too. She was, one out of her last 5 coming into this.
But she gets so fucked in her decisions.
One of those is to Lemos, who some people see as a future champ, or I think it may have even be tentatively announced that she's fighting for the belt next. So I mean that L is aging well. I mean the Jandy Roba L probably not so much, but Tisha Torres, I don't think anybody's sneezing at that. I mean, so and I think, and if I'm not mistaken, the Michelle Watterson fight, we may have scored for her if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we did. We did. We talked about how it was a robbery.
Yeah, so that was a bad one. So I mean, and then she's got Eliane Janan, and you know what I mean. So
right, she's lost to only killers that are like at the top now. So like
Jessica Andrade.
Like I think she's a top 10 girl, and I think this was just the fight to prove like, hey, I'm not this back end. Like I am a 10 and above. Probably 5 is too high for her, but I think she's the perfect gatekeeper to like, you beat Angie Hill, you have a good chance you can make top 5, at least top 7.
Well, and man, Ducote just, I mean, I don't even think she shot a takedown the whole fight. I mean, she was getting pieced up on the feet and then just kept engaging on the feet.
Girl
like, it was a kickboxing match.
Like, she didn't know what she could do. I think the feints were freezing her.
Yeah, I mean, and I like how, like, Angie literally got, like, more violent as the fight went on. That's what I meant by like, she was being a dog. Like, because in round 1, it was kind of point fighting, jabs, you know, leg kicks, but it was good pressure, good activity. Then in round 2, you know, she starts to really kind of turn it up a notch. And then round 3, she's hitting elbows and she's just getting real. And those clinch knees in round 3 were brutal. They were to the body. I was literally like, you know, when you watch somebody get kicked in the nuts on TV and you don't feel it, but your brain kind of registers like, oh, I know what that is. But like when I was watching, like those clinch knees to the body, I like felt my like torso like caving in. I was like, oh,
yeah, like,
they were just digging. So, and she would do like what, 4 in a row, 5 in a row.
It was like Muay Thai work. Like would get the plum and then boom, 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 and then
it was
breakout.
It was like she was drilling the Thai clinch. Like she was like
it looked like sparring for like Hill's Camp. Like, that's what it looked like. Was like a girl kind of getting beat up.
Yeah, it looked like Ducote should have had one of those little rib protectors on, you know, when they're holding the pads, like, and she was just drilling, getting in the gut. No, it was impressive, man. Angela Hill ends up landing over 150 significant strikes.
Plus 110 dog in this fight, too.
Yeah, plus 110 dog. And you know what?
Easy 30-27.
I was a little wary, because, like, from a betting perspective, I was like, man, because I like Angie Hill. It's my wife's favorite fighter. I'm a fan.
She loves to go to decision and fight close fights, though, which doesn't benefit you in a close odds bet.
Exactly. And just 1-4 in her last 5. It's like, it's tough. It was tough to feel like confident enough to put your money on her. You know what I'm saying? Especially Ducote, much younger fighter. I think this was probably set up, given the money line and the rankings, to elevate Ducote. Like you said, you described Angie Hill as a gatekeeper. So I think it was like, I don't know. If you catch the Angie Hill plus 110, leave a comment below. But I couldn't bring myself to pull the trigger. But then just real quick, this fight was on when I was getting tattooed too, and I went back and rewatched the fights that I watched getting tattooed. But it was cool having the fights on while I was getting tattooed, just to kind of distract my mind and all that. But it was funny. The guy tagged me. He was like real into UFOs and shit. And I was like telling him how that's Betty and Barney Hill's granddaughter.
Yeah.
And he was like, man, that shit. He's this guy. He's from Texas. He's like, man, that shit usually goes on for generations, man. I wonder if that's why she's so athletic. Like
he was getting like deep on it.
Yeah, he was going tinfoil hat that like.
God damn it, like Sam Tripoli.
Some alien DNA modification just going on there with Angela Hill. Is funny because I was like, well, if you watched her past 4 fights, you probably wouldn't feel that way. But watching her fire on all cylinders, you're like, God damn, this girl's an alien. But no, but I thought that was a little funny. But yeah, man, that wraps up the prelims, bro. Really some good prelims. I love Fight Night prelims. You know, like pay-per-view prelims. You're always just like so waiting for the big fights that the prelims can kind of feel like it's short. Yeah. But on Fight Nights, dude, I love me some Fight Night prelims.
Well, oddly enough, too, with these prelims, I mean, only 2 finishes. Still really good fights, I thought, though.
Any bonuses on the prelims? I didn't look into that.
Nope. Not a 1.
Not a 1? I think that's probably justified because all the best fights were decisions.
Well, I will say a teaser for the main card, 7 finishes, 6 KO TKOs, 1 sub.
Yeah. Fucking nuts, man. Banana land. But yeah, we'll get to that. We'll be right back in just a moment, folks. Appreciate you tuning in. Give us a subscribe.
Absolutely. Come back for the main card of episode 112. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be